Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. Casey Porter here, flying solo tonight. Coach Holt, he is mourning about his Dallas Cowboys, no doubt about it. Have the Lions and the Rams game on right now. Looks like that's going to be a track meet. We already have a good lobby started. So, hey, wasn't quite sure if I wanted to compete with the Los Angeles Rams game. I have no idea how many people will want to come on to this stream with the Rams playing. I get it. Hopefully we can watch both. I've got both of them going on right now, so we'll see how that goes. Right now the Rams are losing 14-10, and the Detroit Lions are driving. So good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I really don't even have a topic. We have covered almost everything that there is to cover as far as the Dodgers go. When you talk about Teoscar Hernandez, the latest trade we covered very extensively on Friday night's show with Jackson Ferris and the Dodgers trade sending away Michael Bush and also Yency Almonte. So what I want tonight to be, I want this to be us talking together here at Dodgers Daily and having a great show. Just, hey, what questions do you have? What are your concerns? What is it that you want to talk about as it relates to the Dodgers? Hey, we can talk about the Rams too. We can talk about how that game's going and all of that as well. So let's get a good lobby going. Tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, and let's just kind of go back and forth with this and have a good evening. So not exactly sure. We'll see how the lobby goes. Hopefully we get a good lobby. If we're competing with the Rams a little bit too much, then we may cut it off a little bit short tonight so we can get to the end of that game, because I am very interested in watching that as well. Okay, Showtime LA, thank you so much for joining. How's it going tonight, Casey? It is going fantastic. Wanted to remind everybody, went on with Clint a couple of times. He broke our conversation into two different shows. Also went on with D-Mac. We recorded that Saturday morning. He released the first part of that. The first part of that was all about the trade. So go over to Dodgers Nation. D-Mac and Clint were so gracious. Clint over there at Real FRG. They both do such a wonderful job. You can go over there and check out those conversations if you haven't already done that. So, yeah, go over there to Dodgers Nation. Just released the video today. And then also on Real FRG with Clint Pasillas. I know D-Mac will be releasing his the second video of we did. The second video will be all about the prospects. The first video was more about the trade. So go over there and check that out. So doing great tonight, Showtime LA. I hope that you are doing fantastic as well. Roy Estrada says, we need Jesus Luzardo, not Cease. I am 100% in that boat. And it was interesting whenever you look at the information that came out that the Dodgers tried to get Cease with Michael Bush. And what it sounded like to me, you always got to kind of read between the lines when clubs make public statements, because they don't, what clubs never want to be or in a position to where they have egg on their face and it looks like they tried for something and swung and missed. So just reading between the lines, just looking at it, and there is a touchdown Detroit Lions, just reading between the lines, what that comment looked like to me is that whenever the Dodgers tried to go get Dylan Cease and they tried to include Michael Bush in that package, the White Sox were wanting in return prospects that the Dodgers did not want to give up. Okay, so at least for the Dylan Cease part of it, there were prospects that the Dodgers are like, not giving those prospects up for Dylan Cease. So what you have to hope as a Dodgers fan is that if you want Jesus Luzardo, Tanner Scott, somebody like that, you have to hope that the Dodgers, the same prospects they were going to have to give up that they chose not to get Dylan Cease, there was not going to be a Dylan Cease straight up for Michael Bush. That wasn't going to happen. Probably not even Michael Bush and Yency Almonte. Again, you have to hope that the Dodgers value Jesus Luzardo more than they did Dylan Cease. And here's why I think that is very, very possible. Here is why I have said, Austin has said this, why Jesus Luzardo makes more sense than everybody else. He has 3 years of team control. Okay? I've said this a couple of times. I know a couple of you have disagreed with me. You don't have to do this. But here's what I'm trying to say about Jesus Luzardo. Let's say you get Shohei Ohtani back next year. You sign Roki Sasaki. You get Dustin May back. You get Tony Gonsolin back. And let's say you sign Clayton Kershaw to a 2-year contract. You say, then why in the hell would you get Jesus Luzardo with all of that? Okay, so if you have Jesus Luzardo this time next year and all those guys work out, what you can do at that point is turn Jesus Luzardo or Tony Gonsolin or whoever it is that you want to trade away. It would be either Gonsolin or Luzardo. At that point, you can flip them for the same type of prospects that you gave away to get Jesus Luzardo. So here's kind of my point with that. You can get an entire year of Jesus Luzardo. He gives you insurance on a year that you're not exactly sure. Hey, we think Tyler Glasnow is going to be more healthy than he ever has been. We think that Yamamoto is going to be able to pitch the same kind of innings he always has. You think that Walker Buehler, we hope that once he gets back, it'll be at full strength. We think that Bobby Miller is going to be the Bobby Miller we think he's going to be. We think Emmett Sheehan is good. So you go get Jesus Luzardo. He gives you insurance for an entire year. Then you flip him after this year, and you get almost the exact type of prospects that you gave up for him. And so you basically got Jesus Luzardo, an insurance lefty, for basically nothing for an entire year. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Maybe the prospects that you get back next year if you flipped Jesus Luzardo wouldn't be quite as extensive as what you'd have to give up now. And that's why I felt like they should have used Michael Busch in that trade. And that's because Michael Busch had zero value to the Dodgers. Doesn't matter how good he was. The Dodgers didn't have a spot. So if you give up Michael Busch to go to Miami or to the Marlins, yeah, I think it's Miami. I always get that mixed up. All those names. Okay, if you give him a guy that you don't have a spot for anyways, and then at that point you give up a couple of other prospects, then you flip him next year, you've absolutely lost nothing and gained a really good lefty for an entire year. Hey, maybe this time next year after that as well, you like Jesus Luzardo, a guy that can throw the ball through the roof. I mean, a guy with a high velo, left-handed, young, vibrant pitcher. I'm not saying you have to do that. You could trade Tony Gonsolin instead and get some prospects back. You are in a position of leverage at that point. That's what Jesus Luzardo would do for you, and that's one of the reasons why, in my opinion, he makes the most amount of sense. And then whenever you go get him, it only makes sense to go package for a guy like Tanner Scott, who didn't come to terms for arbitration. He's not happy with the Marlins. He would kill to come to the Dodgers. Package those two and see if the prospect haul with a package together isn't quite as devastating when you're considering the fact that you're getting two really nice players back, two lefties back. So that's exactly why Jesus Luzardo makes so much sense. And by the way, D-Mac and I talked about that. So whenever he releases that show, it was a wonderful conversation we had together, back and forth about the Jesus Luzardo deal. So, hey, be ready for that. Be ready for D-Mac's conversation on that. We went back and forth with it. We both gave our opinions. So super excited for him to release that. Okay, Serge Trevino, thank you so much for joining. Roy, as always, thank you so much for joining. Hey, we already have a lobby of 100. I can't believe it, honestly. Sometimes you guys are just so wonderful and so incredible. You never cease to stop amazing me at how awesome you are. Hey, we can watch this Rams game, hopefully a big Los Angeles Rams win. I don't think Austin would agree with that because he's from Michigan, probably a Detroit Lions fan. We can watch that and talk Dodgers baseball at the same time. So, Roy, we need Luzardo not cease. Good evening, Roy. Thank you so much. Serge Trevino, totally agree. Give me Luzardo, trade Vargas, a couple of pitchers, Stone, Gonsolin, and Taylor. I'm with you. If they would take that. I don't know that they would want a Chris Taylor. I think they would want a Miguel Vargas because he has enough versatility to fill in defensively wherever they would want. I think they would want somebody above Gavin Stone. I think they would want, at a minimum, Nick Frasso. So I think your package there would be Vargas, Frasso, and then probably Diego Cartaya. And then probably one guy. And then I think if you added maybe one or two more, then you can get Tanner Scott as well. So I think what I'm trying to say is I think you're going to be giving up your headliners anyways. To get Luzardo, you're going to be giving up a Cartaya and a Frasso, and then probably a Vargas. You're going to be giving up those guys anyways to your headliner guys to get Luzardo. So then go ahead and give up a lower level minor leaguer and then a Diego Cartaya where you have a million, you have so much catching depth. Go ahead and then after you've given up your highlighters, go ahead and give up a couple of other guys to get the lefty Scott. That's exactly where that just makes way too much sense for me. Hi, Roy, says Craig. Craig, thank you so much for joining tonight. Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys sucked. I mean, point blank, they sucked. Coach Holt, he was having a watch party today, so he was not able to come on Dodgers Dawgs. He is not very diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. He grew up in southern Oklahoma, and he grew up a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. He is not very happy with the way things went. He will be back next week. He's already promised me that. I know he promised you that last week as well. But Coach Holt will be with us again next week. Super excited. Still haven't even talked to him. I haven't talked to him since before Christmas. He's been super busy, and he's a retired guy, so we take Coach Holt when we can get him, right? I still haven't even heard his thoughts on any of the moves that the Dodgers have made to this point. So good evening, Craig. Thank you so much for joining. I am so glad we already have a lobby of over 100. Again, I can't believe that. That is simply fantastic. Let me know, Dazer, are there any prospects that we covered Jackson Ferris last time very, very extensively? We covered the two guys that the Dodgers picked up in the trade. Are there any prospects that you would like to talk about? Any of the any trade pieces that you would like to see video on, that you would like to talk about tonight? Let's talk about prospects while we're watching the Los Angeles Rams hopefully come back. They're down 21-10 right now. About 4 minutes to go in the first half. While we're watching the Rams try to win this game, let's talk about the Dodgers. Let's talk about the Dodgers, no doubt about it. Okay, so here we go, Craig. Good evening, Craig. Samuel Ellis, what happened to my Cowboys in Donkeys Super Bowl? Boy, I tell you what happened to the Cowboys. Just my opinion. I'm a Cowboys fan, but kind of casual. I'm a college football. Oh, there's a big catch right there. Touchdown Rams. How about that? Yes, sir. Oh, don't get a penalty for college. That would be a penalty. And if he did it before he got into the end zone, it actually would be coming back, and that touchdown wouldn't count. This is going to be a score-a-thon. This is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. I hope you don't mind me breaking in and giving you updates because I've got the game on as well, so it's a lot of fun. Okay, so what happened to the Cowboys? Jerry Jones, I think that he has way too much control. It's the same thing over and over every year, but I won't bore you with that. Those are just my thoughts, and I'm not all that versed on the NFL, but I do follow it from a distance. Danielle Berry Sports Highlight. Yo, good evening. Thank you so much for joining. Eddie Chavez, thank you so much for joining. I love the Dodgers more, he says. Yes, that barely snuck in there. I love the Dodgers more than the Rams. Yes, I was talking to D-Mac about the Rams. I said, hey, would it be worth it for me to come on? Obviously it was. You guys are fantastic. But he said, yeah, the Rams have a good contingency, nothing like the Dodgers. But, yeah, so there is a good contingency of Rams fans, no doubt about it. Roy Estrada, correct, thank God. I have our Dodgers, no doubt about it. Roy Estrada rooting for the Rams now. Okay, now it is 21-17. Update on that score that Roy gave. Yeah, so amazing content 1 week in and fantastic. This is from Justin Huffman. So, hey, Justin, thank you so much. Every once in a while you get a comment like, hey, the last comment we got, I just stumbled on your channel, love this stuff. Hey, thank you so much. We work very hard. I watch 4 games a night during the season. I want to thank my wife for that and my 2 pit bulls because they are fantastic. They allow me to do that. I love doing it. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing than sitting here watching the Great Lakes Loons, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, actually 5 games, and the LA Dodgers. It's an absolute blast. So, and they let me do it, and so it's a heck of a lot of fun. We work very hard to bring you the content that we have here and to bring you the connections that we get with the people that we get to hang around in the system. So it's really cool, and anytime that somebody acknowledges the content that they like it, I can't tell you how much it means to us. It is absolutely a huge deal. Hey, Austin, hey, thank you for joining. Austin's going to moderate a little bit. I know he's always super busy on Sundays, so he'll probably be bouncing in and out. If you have a question for Austin, just pop it in there. And Austin, hey, if you haven't checked it out, he released a good tweet. Go over to Twitter, look up Austin Brubaker on Twitter, AustinBrew99, and he tweeted about Sauer and Lau and Kyle Hurt and their swing and miss percentages. It was simply fantastic. Austin, good evening to you. Not a popular opinion in the chat, but I got a cheer on my I mentioned that. I figured you were a Detroit Tiger. Excuse me. I'm baseball through and through, if you can't tell. Detroit Lions fan, no doubt about that. Okay, Mr. Crush Guts. Hey, thank you so much for joining Mr. Crush Guts every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Want to thank everybody for joining. 6 o'clock Pacific. And we talked Dodgers baseball, got into a great conversation about the trade Friday night, got into a great conversation about the two prospects the Dodgers were getting back. So you want to go back and check them out. I think I'm going to make that the part of that a hot take as well. The Dodgers are done trading this offseason. They will sign a pitcher, not Kershaw. Coach Holt asked me about this. I think what the Dodgers are going to do, I think they are going to sign Clayton Kershaw from, I don't know this for a fact, but from all the people I've talked to that aren't necessarily in the organization, but that are connected, I think they're going to sign him. And I've been saying this for about, Austin and I both have been saying this for the last month, maybe 2 months. We figured it was going to be after the pitchers and catchers reported, because then that's whenever you put Tony Gonsolin, that's when you put Dustin May on the 60-day. So that opens up that spot on the 40-man, and Clayton Kershaw had the ability to wait that long. So it's Clayton Kershaw waiting this long only to sign with another team. We'll see. I don't think that's the case. I think they have a gentleman's agreement that he's waiting until those 40-man roster spots are signed. Now, here's the question, Mr. Crush Guts. Do you go out and make a trade, or do you just go get a free agent? That was the beauty in the last trade that the Dodgers made, sending away two guys on the 40-man. That opened up two spots. You gave one of them to Teoscar Hernandez. You still have one spot left. So does that mean you go sign a free agent pitcher, or does that mean you swing a trade, and it can be a 1-for-1 trade now, or it could even be a 1-for-2 trade because you still have that one spot available? So if you trade another guy on your 40-man, that means at that point you would have two spots available. So then you could get two guys back, i.e. Jesus Luzardo, i.e. Tanner Scott. So all you would have to do to go get those two guys is include one player, just one, on your 40-man. And then after that, what this last trade did with Bush and Almonte, after that, now you can trade anybody else in the organization that they want, that you're willing to give up, and they don't have to be on the 40-man. The thing about the last trade the Dodgers fans need to understand, and I think they do, was that the Dodgers had to trade from their 40-man. That's why it was Yency Almonte. You say, well, why wasn't it another guy, maybe a higher prospect? Well, because the Dodgers needed to clear 40-man space. That's why Almonte, and he didn't have any minor league options. He was the guy. So I think a trade is very well possible. I don't think the Dodgers have it set in stone which way they're going. I think they're scoping out trades. They hate giving up prospects. They love holding on to their prospects. Just look at their trade so far. Ryan Pepio, Johnny DeLuca. Yes, Johnny DeLuca was a tough hit, but they knew they were going to go get Teoscar Hernandez or somebody like him to take that place. They know they have Andy Pages. Okay, and then the Ryan Pepio deal, they got Tyler Glasnow back, and they got him for the exact same amount of time. The Dodgers, I'm telling you, man, if they go get Luzardo and they give up Frasso and they give up Cartaya and they give up, one of their Miguel Vargas, they're just going to be going, oh, my God. It's going to be out of character for them. It's going to hurt for them. So the odds on would say, Crush Nuts, you're probably right. They probably do go the free agency route because they hate giving up prospects, something of which I wish they would change, because when you build an all-star team like the Dodgers have done, like we all want them to do, we're all super pumped. We wish the season would start tomorrow. If you do that, but then you keep all of your best prospects, your top 10 best prospects, then you end up with a log jam, a big old pile of 26-year-olds, and the next thing you know, you can't flip them for the value that you should be getting out of them. So I wish the Dodgers would kind of get out of their comfort zone and trade some of these guys away to go get Luzardo and Scott. I've said that many different times. But, yeah, so we'll see how that goes, Crush Guts. Thank you for that comment. I will see which way they go. I'm not exactly sure the Dodgers know. I don't think there's anybody on earth that can give you that answer right now because I think they're still scoping out every single option. And we'll see which way they go. They don't have to do anything for a while. They don't have to do anything, for the next couple of weeks. So there could be a dead period. They have time to negotiate. So we'll see how that goes. Craig Osterberg says, yeah, the defense in this game is absolutely terrible. When do catchers and pitchers report? I don't know the exact date. Let me look that up, and I will get back to when do pitchers and catchers report. Okay, February 13th, so that's coming up. So today is the 14th, so that's now less than a month. How about that, Dodgers fans? Less than a month until pitchers and catchers report, till you're hearing that pop of the glove and you're hearing the hum baby. How about that? Less than a month. Wow. So you're looking at less than a month until the Dodgers can free up those 2 roster spots. You're looking at about 30 days when Clayton Kershaw signs, in my opinion. Okay, good evening. Samuel, good evening. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, less than a month until pitchers and catchers report. 73 days until opening day. February 2nd reporting. I've got February 13th. Let me check that. Pitchers and catchers. I've got report to their camp on February 13th and position players on the. So I've got 13th for the pitchers and catchers and 16th for the position players. I could be wrong on that, Samuel, but that's what I got there. But yes, 73 days until opening day, and then the pitchers and catchers report next month. Yang Cease is overrated. He had one good year in 2022. Overrated is a way to put it. I think Young, the best way to put it is overly priced by the White Sox. I think that they are overrating him. They are wanting more back for him than what clubs are seeing in him in value. The Dodgers aren't going to go dump all their best prospects to go get a Dylan Cease when they've already gotten Yamamoto, Glass now, and they know Buehler's coming back, and they have all these pitchers and Bobby Miller. They're not going to dump all of their best pitching prospects, their best catching prospect, and all of that for a Dylan Cease, of which is what the White Sox are wanting back. So I would say the way that I would put it is that Dylan Cease is overpriced right now by the White Sox. Again, if there's any prospect talk you want to talk about, done trading, signing a pitcher, yep, that's from Felix. Felix Forrest, thank you so much for joining, Felix. Yes, that definitely could be the case. You have one roster spot, you go sign a free agent pitcher, and you're done, no doubt. That's easily the way that the Dodgers could do. That would probably be the safe bet, again, because at this point, now that you have Michael Busch gone, everybody that you trade away is going to hurt a lot more. Not that Michael Busch didn't hurt, but it didn't hurt in the fact that you knew you didn't have a spot for him. He was the least painful from that perspective. So everybody that you put in a trade package at this point is going to be a guy that you see a future for in your system, and it's going to hurt. So from that perspective, Felix Forrest, I would totally agree. The odds on would say that the Dodgers probably would go the safe route and just go the free agency route and just go get a free agent pitcher and be done. I hope they don't. I hope they go outside their box. I hope they go get Jesus Luzardo and Tanner Scott. Then if they feel uncomfortable with the prospect haul that they gave away, flip Jesus Luzardo this time next year and replenish those same guys. That's kind of where I'm at right there. Me Rojo, thank you so much for joining. Hey, reminder, every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, we are talking Dodgers baseball, and we have a wonderful crowd tonight. Roy, yes, no doubt. The Dallas Cowboys were embarrassing. It was an embarrassing loss, but they have to go down with the ship. True fan. Yeah, we always go down with the ship, as we did with the Dodgers last year as well. Okay, so Samuel says cease, all cease. Roy says Nakua is awesome. Paul, good evening, Paul. Paul is one of our wonderful, hey, I always like to say, I don't even like to say fans, we do this together. You know, you don't work Now, I always say, like, whenever I had assistant coaches, hey, you don't work for me, you work with me. We're all working together to make this a wonderful show and a wonderful experience. Paul is just an awesome commenter here in our chat. We want the Dodgers to make a trade for Luzardo or Cease. Just curious. They have time. They're not going to do it unless they're comfortable with the prospects they give back. I think that's going to take some time. I think what's happening too, here's another reason, Paul, why it may not happen immediately. I think if you just give Josh Hader a little bit longer to soak, and when he finally realizes he's not going to get that 4 or 5 years, that's when I think the Dodgers would be willing to jump in. They're not going to jump in on him at 4 or 5 years. I wouldn't think. That would also be out of their comfort zone, just like trading away prospects would be. So I think if it's a Josh Hader, this is why the Dodgers can be patient. You wait for Josh Hader to get a little bit antsy. You wait for Josh Hader to be in a position to where he realizes he's not going to get the 4 or 5 years. Then the Dodgers go, not going to get the 4 or 5 years, huh? Well, how about you make more money for us than anybody else? You offer Josh Hader more money than anybody else does for a 1, probably 2-year deal at that point. But that's still, I think, 3 weeks away. So will the Dodgers be patient enough to wait that long? They can. And then when you're talking about a trade with Jesus Luzardo, maybe a Tanner Scott, that's going to take a while to work out the details as far as the prospect haul that the Dodgers are willing to give up. And whenever by getting Ohtani, by getting Yamamoto, by getting all these guys, we've said it many times, what the Dodgers did, they put themselves in a position of want and not a position of need, so they can take as long as they want, have all the leverage, and only make the move that they feel like was leveraged on their side. So don't get impatient with it. If it takes another 2 weeks, that's fine. The Dodgers, hey, they're in a position to where at this point they have one move left probably. Maybe there's a trade and a free agent guy too. Maybe there's 2 moves, probably 1 move, and the Dodgers want that move to be, as D-Mac would always say, the Dodgers want that move to be checkmate. This has been a offseason that's been amazing. It might already be checkmate for everybody else already, but I still think you're probably maybe a piece or 2 away from it being just a slam dunk checkmate. So I think you need to be patient with that. We'll see. Who knows with the Dodgers? It could be tomorrow when they make a move. But we've had a pretty good beat as far as what was going to happen. We've pretty much been on top of like the NC Almonte deal, the Teoscar Hernandez deal, the giving away the prospects deal. We've had a pretty good beat on where the Dodgers are headed with this. So we'll keep an eye out on that. So, hey, great comments here as we continue down our wonderful fans here and we get through their comments. Okay, so LC, let's blank and go. No doubt about it. LFG is what I'll say to that. Hey, let's start tomorrow, man. I am ready for baseball to get going. Paul says the Rams will have a better second half. The good thing about this is nobody's playing defense, so, hey, if you can just get a couple of stops, it reminds me of the old Arena League football. We actually had one of those teams in Oklahoma City where they scored every single possession. So the offense is there. You have the offense to come back, so that's a good thing. At least you're not like a defensive first team to where if you get behind 2 or 3 scores, you just have no way of coming back. The Rams definitely aren't that. So Jared Goff and the boys, I think, have a little bit of ammo to come back with that. Just got to get the Lions stopped, obviously. And 21-17 as the first half winds down and the Rams have the ball. If you could just go kick a field goal right here. The worst part of this is what you don't want to do is go 3 and out with 3 incomplete. That's a good run. That's why you run right there, is because you want the clock to tick. What you don't want to do is go 3 and out with 3 incomplete passes and then give Detroit the ball back where they can go kick a field goal. So, okay, so the Rams are trying to go kick, or at least trying not to give the Lions the ball back here. They're just trying to get to halftime now and regroup 21-17. So, okay, we don't have to give up too many prospects for Luzardo, says LC. I would agree with that, although Luzardo has a big-time upside. He throws hard. He is the exact kind of guy the Dodgers have. I agree with you, though, LC. And even if you have to give up a few more prospects than you're comfortable with, I still think it's worth it because, again, if you feel uncomfortable with what you gave up, as the Rams just completed a pass, got the first down, that gets them to halftime. That was actually, I said Jared Goff. I'm sorry, Matthew Stafford. My apologies for that. But that gets you to then at this time next year, if you feel like you need to replenish those guys, then just flip one of the guys that you have in excess next year and go get prospects for them, and then you've replenished what you lost in giving up Jesus Luzardo. It just makes sense on every single level for me, but we'll see. Want Luzardo and Scott, want no one. How about them Packers trade Vargas? I want Luzardo and Scott, or I don't want no one, I think is what Steve is saying here. Good evening, Steve, thank you so much for joining. How about them Packers? Yes, they kicked Dallas's ass, no doubt about it. Trade Vargas, Artaya Frasso, and 2 more arms from Stone and Knack, Grove, Ryan. Yep, that would be the prospect haul. You're pretty close. I think they're probably going to – I think you're right on the money. And like I said, that's one of those, oh, my God, I can't believe we're doing this. It will be worth it, though. Again, you can turn them around next year. Do it. Just do it. If you go get Luzardo and Scott, then you sign Josh Hader in free agency, my God. I mean, that why not? You've already gone this far. You've committed all these billions of dollars. Finish it. Completely finish it. Checkmate the whole thing, as D-Mac would say. Totally agree. We don't have to give up too many prospects for Luzardo, says LC. Paul says Bill Belichick will be the Cowboys' next head coach. Yeah, I think it'd probably take him a couple years, maybe 3, to be the all-time wins leader. I think I was reading that earlier. Yeah, Samuel says donkeys equal Broncos. Yep. Craig says barn burner for offense, 21-17 at the halftime. Thank you so much for joining. It means so much to me that all of you Rams fans out there decided to turn on Dodgers Dogs and watch the Rams on the side, and we can kind of coexist here. That's just absolutely amazing that you guys chose to do that, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Oscar Vargas, Ken Rosenthal reported that the Dodgers wanted to acquire Cease to flip him to the Orioles for prospects. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. What that sounds like to me is that the White Sox wanted Michael Busch and then about 3 prospects that the Dodgers weren't willing to give up for Dylan Cease. That goes back to my original point that whenever you let a guy get to be 26 years old, as good as Michael Busch is, other teams don't value the 26 years old like the Dodgers would hope they would, right? So because he's 26, the White Sox were going to want prospects that the Dodgers didn't want to give up beyond Michael Busch because they knew that he didn't really have any value to the Dodgers, and quite honestly, being 26 with only a little over 60 Major League at-bats and with the batting average that he had, the way that the Dodgers used him and his inconsistent play because they didn't give him consistent playing time, he was devalued to the point, in my opinion, to where the White Sox were going to need some prospects the Dodgers didn't want to give up at that point, and so they didn't. And so then they went up and gave out Yency Almonte then they flipped, and then they went for younger guys, and then the narrative becomes one that doesn't look like you have egg on your face from the Michael Busch situation. That's the way I read that. I would stick next to that. I don't mean to be throwing anybody under the bus. I don't mean to be negative. Just looking at this situation, that's, in my opinion, exactly what happened. That's just my opinion. And so at that point, instead of giving up prospects, the Dodgers decided to give back prospects in return, and then the narrative becomes we want to replenish our farm system. I'm going to say it again. The Dodgers don't need prospects. They are going to continue to have the number 1 farm system or close to every year. They've done it for 100 years. They're always going to have prospects. What they don't have is World Series titles. They have 1 in 2020, and yes, that was a shortened season, but it counts, no doubt about that. But what they need right now is World Series titles. You can't convince me that flipping Michael Busch for a piece to help you win the World Series would not have been a better use than going and getting prospects. I love Jackson Ferris. We covered him. I think he has a chance to be great. He's not going to help the Dodgers win the World Series in the next 2, probably 3 years. You signed Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto for over $1 billion. You signed Tyler Glass now. You have Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, who are not getting younger. You have Max Muncy, who maybe has a couple of more years to where you can deal with the boom and bust. You have a shorter window than you think. Jackson Ferris and the young outfielder Holt, the young outfielder, I can't remember his first name at the moment, Holt, that you went and got. Those guys aren't going to be a part of that window. So you took your number 2 prospect and you didn't get anybody that can help you win a World Series in that window. I can't be convinced that that's a better situation. It would have been better to flip Michael Busch for somebody that could help you win a World Series in that window. Having said that, that's my only complaint. What the Dodgers got back was terrific. Absolutely terrific. No doubt about it. Jackson Ferris is just, well, we covered it. He is just going to be, he's already the Dodgers' number 5 prospect. And, as far as what the Dodgers got back, no doubt about it, it was a good return. So when they pivoted to, instead of giving up prospects, they actually were going to get prospects back. Zaire Hope, I'm sorry, I forgot that name. Sometimes I have brain cramps when I'm by myself. And okay, so those guys are great, okay, but I think if you could have got major league pieces to help you win a World Series or 2 in that window, I think that would have been a better way to use it. But again, I don't want to sound negative towards it because the Dodgers did get a very good return. G-Rob, what do you think about a closer Bieber trade? I think the path is, I don't want Bieber, Class A. He said, yeah, Class A. Class A is fine. Here's what I want. I want Scott. I want Luzardo. I want Hader. Hader's your free agent. I think in the Scott and Luzardo deal, all you have to trade away is one guy from your 40-man to make room for both Scott and Luzardo. I want Luzardo. I want Scott. I want Hader. That's what I want to finish the offseason here for the Dodgers. To me, that's the checkmate. Bieber, I would rather throw Nick Frasso if he's healthy. I would rather throw probably Landon Knack. I would definitely rather throw Emmett Sheehan. Michael Grove, I'm going to release his interview. I like Michael Grove in the pen. Michael Grove said, hey, I'm preparing to be a starter, and then we'll pivot from there. We'll see how that goes. Gavin Stone made great adjustments. So from that perspective, the reason why Luzardo makes so much sense to me is that he brings something to you that you don't have. The reason why Tanner Scott, to me, is so attractive is that he brings something to you that you don't have. That is a left-handed starter that can throw the lights out of the ball. He is the exact type of guy, Luzardo is, that the Dodgers would take and go, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They would hand him a 4-page book of all the things that he's done well, all the things that he needs to improve on, and they would make him, I think, really, really good. So the reason why I'm so high on that is you don't have the left-handed starter. That especially you don't have one that can light the radar gun up like Luzardo can. And then right now, I've been on record saying I think that Caleb Ferguson's going to have a good year, but I can't guarantee that. Tanner Scott is a guy that, to me, he would immediately be your number 1 high-leverage lefty as soon as he came to the Dodgers. He's in a contract year. He has good major league experience. He's going to be motivated to want to sign that bag after this season. So it's not just the fact that you want to go get pitchers to add innings. It's filling in needs that you don't have right now. Getting a left-handed starter would be a great thing for the Dodgers. Getting a high-leverage reliever like Tanner Scott would be a great thing for the Dodgers. And then how about getting an even higher leverage lefty in Josh Hader? How about going from not having a left-handed starter, not having a high-leverage lefty, and not having a closer? I know you could say Evan Phillips is, but I like Evan Phillips being put in a position where he can have more flexibility. I think the Dodgers are better in that situation. How about going from not having any of those three to maybe having some of the best three in the league? That's what that is in front of you. Do it. Give up the prospects. Go do it. Checkmate this thing, as D-Mac would say. That's where I'm at. So, hey, the Class A Bieber, okay. I think that's okay. That doesn't excite me like the Luzardo Scott Hader possibilities do. Hey, great comments, G-Rob, every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you disagree, let me know. Hey, let's have some great Dodgers talks going on here. Okay, Showtime LA. Chris Getz wants way too much for Dylan Cease. No doubt about it. And the Dodgers were not going to give up the amount of prospects that they wanted. And because Michael Busch was 26, he didn't demand the type of return that the White Sox wanted for a Dylan Cease type of guy. That's what I took out of it. You read into it what you want. I'm pretty connected to this situation, and that's my opinion. That's what I'll say about it. Okay, so Samuel Ellis might say, okay, so Mike Lopez, thank you so much for joining, Mike. Thank you so much for being a part of Dodgers Dogs every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 o'clock Pacific. What are the chances of the Dodgers signing Humberto Cruz? He's a 17-year-old right-handed pitcher from the Mexican League. I know the international signing period starts, I think, here shortly. I honestly, I'm going to have to plead the fifth on this one. I promise you this, Mike, I will do some research on Humberto Cruz. I will call the scouts that I am in consistent contact with, the 5 or 6 guys that I communicate with on a regular basis. I will call, and I have a couple of guys that are specifically dialed in to the international prospects. I will get a hold of them, and that way by the time I get you a report on that, Mike, hopefully by Wednesday, I will have a lot more information. So let's go about that way. And if you could hang on with that, I do apologize for that. Go get Arias. Yeah, that is the second baseman for the Marlins. Here's the problem with that, JR. Wonderful offensive player. And not only is he a wonderful offensive player, he is the exact type of offensive player that the Dodgers need. High bat-to-ball skills, high batting average. He is a guy that's going to get on base. He's not going to be boom or bust. I love that about him. Here's your problem, though. Do you really want Max Muncy, Gavin Lux, and him all in your same infield? That's the issue you have. It's going to be from a defensive perspective. Is he going to bring you enough offense to justify having billions of dollars tied up into a super team, an all-star team, and yet that be your defensive infield? From that perspective, JR, I totally agree with what you're saying. I just don't think the Dodgers are going to go that route, and that's why. I think that's the exact reason why. We need Mexican representation for our Dodger community. Okay, so cool thing about that, Mike, is being in Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma City Dodgers, when you go to an Oklahoma City Dodgers game, there is a heavy Mexican-American presence at those games, all of them, that weren't ever there before. So you could not be more correct, Mike. The Mexican-American population is in love with the Dodgers, even in the Oklahoma area. So I wouldn't disagree with you at all there, and I promise you I will have a report from Humberto Cruz for the next show. When will Bellinger sign somewhere? I don't think that's up to Cody Bellinger. I think he is, I'm going to say this point blank, I love Cody Bellinger. I followed him all the way back to Tulsa. He was wonderful. I think he and his scout, and you can disagree with me too, that's fine, because I don't mean this in an arrogant way. We're just talking Dodgers baseball. I just think they've always overvalued Cody Bellinger. I think he's been a great player. He has wonderful tools, but there's a lot of boom and bust. And so from that perspective, I was all for the Dodgers letting him go. I know he had a great season with the Cubs. Still, what did the Cubs win, right? I mean, so I think Cody Bellinger still is in a situation to where he's asking more than than what anybody's wanting to give up for him at this point. So I think Soldier Boy, it's going to be either when a club just says, you know what, screw it, we want Cody Bellinger, he's good. What do you want, Cody? Or it's going to be when Cody says, you know what, I just need to sign with somebody. Let's take the best offer. And they're not there yet. So I would say it's at least a couple of weeks away. Roy say, thank you so much for that wonderful comment, Soldier Boy, 3064. And if you haven't done so yet, hit that like button, leave a comment. And if you haven't become a subscriber yet, please hit that subscribe button. It means so much. And whenever you hit that like button, when you leave a comment, not just in the chat, but if you leave a comment, it hits that algorithm. So when this thing archives, then it gets recommended more and it gets seen more after it archives. Okay, Roy, at what point do we sign Woodruff? He is exactly in the Clayton Kershaw boat. So Woodruff doesn't pitch in 2024. I think this is a great idea. So you sign Kershaw, you immediately put him on the 60-day, and then you put Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin. That opens up 3 40-man spots. So then you go sign Brandon Woodruff when that happens, and then you put him on the 60-day. So now you have all those spots to put guys like Alec Gamboa, John Rooney, whoever it may be, that maybe even like somebody like a Ryan Ward, or hopefully maybe even a Drew Avens would be awesome if you did that. So I think it's not going to be, I think you're at least a month away from that, Roy, when pitchers and catchers report on, what did I say, the 13th of next month. I think we got that right. Zella Zoom, thank you so much for joining. The Dodgers don't need Mexican representation. They need rings. I would agree with that. And that was my biggest complaint. Well, the Mexican representation, yeah, I can tell you the Mexican Americans are they love the Dodgers here in this area. So I would totally agree that the Dodgers definitely need rings, though. No doubt about that. We could all agree with that. So my chat just refreshed. So let me get back down to where I was right here. Happy to see you later. Hey, thank you so much for joining. I'd rather have Woodruff be on our IL acquisition than Kershaw. I think you can do both, though. So my question for you, Hep C, would you like to have both of them? Mike Lopez, tomorrow is the international. Okay, it's tomorrow. Yeah, I knew it was coming up. Thank you, Mike. Okay, so tomorrow is the international draft. He's projected to go be the pick around the mid-20s. Okay, so we'll follow that, and then I will have a report on that, Mike, Wednesday. Thank you so much for that information there. I apologize, I did not have that. So I will follow that tomorrow. I will get with my scouts, and we will talk about that on Wednesday. Thank you, Mike. Hey, Stephen T., thank you so much for your comments. What makes Luzardo so good? It's the fact that he's left-handed and the Dodgers don't have a left-handed starter, for one. And then two, it's the fact that he has good velo. He's a left-hander with velo. That's the type of guy that the Dodgers work with the best, in my opinion. So it gives you uniqueness in the sense that it gives you something you don't. And then it also gives you lots of tools to work with. So, and then also it gives you team control, Steven. So you have 3 years of team control with Jesus Luzardo. And what that does for you is it puts you in a position of flexibility. Either you get to keep a good lefty that you like for the next 3 years that helps you win games on the field, or you get Jesus Luzardo as insurance this year in case Glasnow didn't pitch the amount of innings you need to, in case Buehler isn't as healthy as you think, in case Yamamoto didn't, or Bobby Miller isn't the exact pitcher you want, or in case Emmett Sheehan or some of the rookies don't quite work out the way you want. So what he does for you with 3 years of team control, he gives you that insurance package. If your starting rotation doesn't work out the way you want, you throw him in there, and he does a good job for 120, 130, 140 innings, and it gives you insurance from that perspective. If everything does work out and all your pitchers do work out, then you get Ohtani back, then you get May back, then you get Gonsolin back. Then you can flip them again next year, still with 2 years of team control, and go get back a whole bunch of prospects the same way you gave them up to give them. So it's, in my opinion, it's the lowest risk, highest reward transaction that you could possibly make out there. Those are the reasons that make Luzardo so attractive for the Dodgers, for me. So thank you. Wonderful question, Larry Partridge. It's starting to sink in that Gavin Lux is 2 years younger than I'm not exactly sure who he was talking about, 2 years younger. Yeah, but Gavin Lux, he's one of the few Dodgers that actually got brought up at a younger age, which is great. That's why some of these guys like Luzardo and the lefties like Andrew Nardi on the Marlins are so valuable, is because they have 3 to 4 years of major league experience but are still only 25 years old. Gavin Lux is one of the few Dodgers that actually had that opportunity. So that's why, he's still, even though he hasn't quite hit his potential, he's still young. And that's great, which is why you need to be rooting for Gavin Lux, because if he does the job at shortstop, Doug and I also talked about this in our conversation, that gives you a very athletic, very dynamic, very controllable shortstop for the near future. So Dodgers fans, even if you don't think he's going to be good there, you need to be rooting for Gavin Lux, because he really helps the team out if he does the job at shortstop. Okay, Showtime LA. Wild that none of the Scott Boras clients have signed yet. Yep, 3 have signed, says Showtime LA. Okay, Larry Partridge, Lux is younger than Bush. Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to say, man. And then, hey, Landon Knack's already 26. Nick Frosso's 25. River Ryan's 24. Ben Kasparius is 24. Gavin Stone is 25. These guys are older. They're going to lose value. That's exactly my point, Larry. That is a great point there. Hepatitis C, so thank you for that comment, Larry. Hepatitis see you later, says Brandon Woodruff. 2-year deal, $7 million the first year, and the second year, $15 million. Yep. So howdy, Dodgers. Boys, Denard 2010. Thank you so much for joining. Mr. Seabat, after dealing with my Dodgers playoff collapse and now my Cowboys. Oh, dear God. Cowboys wet the bed, no doubt. Console me, Casey. I'm hurting on my sports way. It was a complete disaster in Dallas today. Hey, give the Packers credit. They won the toss and they took the ball. They took the ball, they went and scored and never looked back. Yeah, what a complete disaster. Hey, here's your consolation. Pitchers and catchers report in less than a month, Mr. Seabad. The Dodgers have Ohtani. The Dodgers have Yamamoto. The Dodgers have Glasnow. The Dodgers have Bobby Miller. They have Sheehan. They have Nick Frosso. They have Landon Knack. They have Kyle Hurt. They have Gavin Stone. They have all these guys. They have Freddie Freeman. They have Mookie Betts. They have Gavin Lux coming back. And the Dodgers are the favorite to win the World Series in 2024, Seabad. They are a way better team this time this year than they were last year. And, by the way, Mr. Seabad, they're not done. They're going to make one more move. I hope it's the move I've talked about. So, yes, the Cowboys, they choked again. The Dodgers, they exited first round. But I don't know about Dallas, as long as Jerry Jones is the owner. But the Dodgers, who I think if you probably had a choice between the Dodgers and winning a World Series and Dallas Cowboys winning a Super Bowl, I would guess you would take the Dodgers. They're going to do it, Seabad. They're the best team in baseball. The Dodgers are going to win the World Series in 2024. And if they can get that first one with the window they have, they might go on a roll where in the next 10 years, they win 3 or 4. I hope that makes you feel better right there. Okay, Mike Lopez Chavez Ravine is in Echo Park. The Dodgers have the most Mexican-American fans in the United States. I would agree with that. Paul Charles, I think the Dodgers will try to get Randy Arozarena at the trade deadline, if not next year. The reason why Paul says that, and this is a great point, the reason why they couldn't get him this offseason is because he still has, I think, 3 years of control left. So for every day that ticks off the calendar, he is one day closer to the end of his contract. And when guys become one day closer to the end of their contract, they become less expensive. So what Paul is saying here is that Arozarena will be hopefully substantially cheaper at the deadline than he was in the offseason, and he will be even cheaper in the next offseason than he is at the deadline. So if you don't resign, I think the most likely thing, Paul, is that you use Teoscar Hernandez, and then you kind of evaluate Andy. Hopefully Andy Pages is healthy. My hope is that he's the starter this time next year. Okay, and then this time next year, that's when you sign Arozarena, after you've played Teoscar Hernandez. But the trade deadline would be great too. We'll see. But I think if you have to go get him at the trade deadline, that tells me that you feel like something's a little bit off and that you need some help. So we'll see. Hey, that is a great point, though, Paul, that how the longer we go, the more affordable that Randy Arroza Arena becomes. Mike M., thank you so much for joining. DMAC released our part one of our interview today. Part two is coming up whenever he decides to release it in the next couple of days. DMAC gets the last roster spot. Mr. Seabad going back to watch the Ohtani signing show when DMAC did a showy to cheer myself up. Yeah, no doubt about that. Hep C, I'm not too fond on the proposed idea of trading for starting pitchers then flipping them for prospects. For Michael Busch's situation, I like it, but I want to hoard as much proven MLB arms as possible. Hey, that's great with me too. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying if the Dodgers feel like they need to replenish their farm system, that's the type of flexibility that Luzardo would give you. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm saying he gives you the ability to do it if you feel like you have a glut of pitching and that you can't use them all, and that the Dodgers would rather replenish their farm system with that. So I'm with you there, Hep C. No doubt about it, but I do think that flexibility is something that the Dodgers value. And I guess I'm probably trying to speak it into existence a little bit too, right? Okay, Denard, I feel Dodgers are waiting for spring training to begin to sign Brandon Woodruff to a 2-year deal, put him on the DL. Totally agree with that. Zella Zoom, hey, thank you, Zella, so much for joining. When Friedman came to the Dodgers, he said he wanted to have an all-star at every position. Boy, he's delivered pretty much. Teoscar Hernandez, I mean, he could have a good year. He's going to have dudes around him. He's going to be in better advantageous positions. Still 21-17 with about 9 minutes to go in the third quarter. The Rams are down. So he's going to have better guys around him, which is going to make him better as the Rams are the line. I think I'm on the internet here with this. You guys are probably watching it live. So I'm probably about 10 to 15 seconds behind. So I'm actually watching the field goal right now as we speak, and it is down the middle, right down the middle. So it is now 24-17. The Rams down 1 touchdown. Okay. If we trade for Luzardo, I want him on the team for the whole 3 years. Let's hoard all these proven elite arms. Yep, no doubt about that. Okay, so Zella, when Friedman came, he wanted all-stars. So I think Teoscar Hernandez could be good. I think Manny Margot and Jason Hayward together, the way that you're going to do matchups, I think they're going to be fine. Yeah, so probably not an all-star at every position, but he definitely has put together I think the best roster in baseball. So it's going to be super, super exciting. No doubt, Zella. Mike M., what about getting Burns as a rental at the trade deadline for a World Series run next season? Will bring Sasaki and Ohtani into the rotation. Yeah, no doubt about that. Burns is another guy that you can consider, and he's going to get cheaper as it goes. The risk with that is I think Milwaukee's going to be close enough to the wild card, Mike, to where I don't think there's going to be any justifying them getting rid of Corbin Burns at the trade deadline, because let's say that they're either winning the wild card, which is likely, or they're 1 or 2, maybe 3 games away from the wild card. How do you convince your fans that it's a good situation to trade Corbin Burns for a reduced price, because the Dodgers aren't going to give up 1 million prospects for a guy that they're only going to have for a couple of months? That's the issue with Corbin Burns at the trade deadline. That would be the difficult part about it. Okay, so Hep C, because someone is bound to go down. Yep, you're right about that. I mean, you need 10 to 12 starters every year, Hep C, so no doubt about that. Jose Ayala, Casey, you're right on with everything. Great show. Thank you so much. Hey, Lieutenant T.E. Beaches, I think that's what that says mid. Thank you so much for joining every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 o'clock Pacific. Okay, Paul Charles, is that Tyler Scott a starting pitcher or right-handed pitcher for – let me see if I can read that properly. I'm having a hard time actually seeing that one right there. So let me get into some of the other comments here. All right, so let me get back to that. Okay, Mr. Seaman, I disagree, Casey. During the Frank McCourt era of ownership, the Dodgers farm club system collapsed in disarray. It took years to fix it, which included moving the teams to Oklahoma City and Tulsa. Yeah, that's great. Hey, man, I'm all about having the best farm system in the world. One thing at the Dodgers, I agree with you here, Mr. Seabat. One thing about the Dodgers that this organization, this ownership that has been so impressive, is that they have put the major league club in position to be in the playoffs for however many years in a row, I think 12 years in a row, and won one World Series, been in another, and they have had a chance to win the World Series every year while also still having the best minor league system in the game. So I agree with you, Mr. Seabad. There's no way to argue with what they have done. Those are all great points at that point. So, yeah, just some different ideas as far as the flexibility, the way the Dodgers can go. Hep C says Tanner Scott is a relief pitcher. Okay, is that, yeah, Tyler. Okay, yeah, Tanner Scott. Yeah, I saw Tyler Scott. That threw me off. Yes, Tanner Scott is a left-handed relief pitcher, one of the best lefty relievers. That's what was tripping me up. Thank you there very much, Hep C. Hey, and by the way, Mr. Seabat, I love having conversations like this. I love it when we all give our own opinions. So anytime you disagree with me, please let me know. Let's talk about it, and let's have a hell of a good time talking about Dodgers baseball. That is awesome. Okay, Steve Steele, thank you so much for joining. I think Maddox Bruns, hey, by the way, Maddox Bruns, I'm going to say this again. The one hurdle that he had to overcome was throwing strikes with his fastball. The last 2 months of last year, he threw his fastball for a strike in zone 60% of the time or more. He crossed that hurdle. That's super exciting about Maddox Bruns. So Steve says, I think Maddox Bruns, Jackson Ferris, Peyton Martin, and Yang are the next wave. I prefer Stevenson over Hader. Yep, that's hey, whichever way that you think as far as the closer goes, that is fantastic. And I also think that Evan Phillips can close. Brusdar Gratterall, Joe Kelly, they can set up as well. So I don't think the Dodgers have to go get a closer. We'll see, though. Denard, my Cowboys lost this year. Thank God I got our Dodgers in my back pocket to console me, no doubt about that. Paul Charles, if they get Luzardo, I would keep him long-term because he is young and he has not hit his prime yet. Hey, I totally agree with you, 100%. I'm just saying he does give you the flexibility to do whatever you want after this year. And I'm kind of saying, what I'm trying to say really there is that's what this organization is going to want. They don't like being pigeonholed into a corner. I think that's what's going to make Luzardo attractive to them, is that even though they're going to give up more prospects than they're used to giving up, they could go get those prospects back or similar type prospects. If they so, they're going to have the flexibility to make that decision. Not saying that would be the right decision to do, but I think that part of it would make him more attractive to the organization. So, yeah, no doubt about that. Hep C gladly take on Garcia if they give us Luzardo and Scott. International Signing Day is tomorrow. Yes, no doubt about it. Oscar Vargas, we have a wonderful crowd, by the way. Oscar, thank you so much for joining. Dodgers can acquire Cease or Luzardo and then trade and then replenish some of what they lost by flipping them next season. Yeah, we've talked about that. Some people are for that, some aren't. That will be the great thing about that is the Dodgers won't have to. If they want to keep Luzardo, they can. If they want to flip him, they can do that. My whole point in that is Luzardo actually gives you that flexibility. I think that is a strong argument for why it makes sense to go get him. Okay, so man, boy, do we have a tremendous chat going tonight. This is so much fun. Hey, Justin, we all hate being Cowboys fans. I'm from Oklahoma. Everybody's a Dallas Cowboys fan. It is tough. I love Jerry Jones. I love the fact that he spends money. He gives each player an iPad. It just doesn't seem to work. Okay, Hep C, Cartaya, Vargas, Stone, Knack, Ryan, Sweeney for Luzardo, and Scott. I have no problem with that. Dodgers with this trade only lose 2 actual MLB players as of now with this trade, and those 2 trades are depth pieces. Lose nada. I would tend to agree with that. Diego Cartaya, you can, as great as I think he could be, I think he's in a position of depth. Hunter Fiducia is already ahead of him. Dalton Rushing's the number 1 prospect. Tyrone Lorenzo, I love him. Miguel Vargas, I just don't see where they're carving out his next position. Gavin Stone is in a position, and same with Landon Knack of wealth. River Ryan, I think, would probably be the biggest loss of that because I think he's electric. But even having said that, you have just a glut of right-handed pitching, so you can absorb that as good as I think he is. Trey Sweeney, a guy that you're not real deep at shortstop. Again, that's why you need Gavin Lux to be good, I think, there. But I do think that is I think that's pretty much close. I think Yeah, you look at Cartaya, Vargas, Stone, Knack, Ryan. I was thinking a lower level prospect instead of Trey Sweeney. I was thinking like a Rain-Don Cone, a lower level shortstop type of guy. It could be Trey Sweeney though, but yeah, I would do that too. I think if you go win a World Series, no amount what you give up is not worth it, because winning World Series is what it's all about. Sure, Miami won't ask us to take back Avisel Garcia if we ask them for Luzardo and Scott. Ha ha. Yeah, just okay. Awesome. Showtime, LA. Hep C, that's way too much. That's our whole depth in the minor leagues. LOL. Yeah, that's a lot. The Sweeney thing, I think also too, I think they are going to want Frasso. So I think it's going to be Cartaya, Vargas, Frasso, and then a shortstop for Luzardo. And then I think you're adding like a Landon Knack, and then one other piece to get the Scott too. It'll be interesting. I think you're fair. I think Hep C's pretty close right there. I do think that's a good trade-off because, again, you're getting left-handed pitchers. You're getting a guy that throws it really hard. You're getting the experienced high leverage lefty reliever. You're actually okay. So you're moving the ball down the field towards solidifying winning a world championship, which is the only goal. The Rams are moving right now. There, it's going to be third down right here. A good play by the Lions. It's going to be third down and 10 as they drive to try to tie this game up. International Signing Day is tomorrow. Okay, here we go. Dodgers have too many catchers. Yep, included in a deal. Yeah, well, that's one reason why. And then also Diego Cartaya would clear a spot on the 40-man as well. Samuel Ellis Belly has only barely above average offensive metrics last year. Yep. I agree with you. I think him and Boris overvalue what he is. Is the switch hitting catcher prospect any good? Lorenzo. Yeah, Lorenzo's real good. He is in low A. So, like I said when I was talking with D-Mac as I'm watching this third down play, and that is a little mesh route that got caught about the 9-yard line. I don't like to say what a guy is going to be major league-wise until they hit Double-A, because I think most Double-A guys are talented enough to be major leaguers, maybe not skilled enough, but have the physical tools and talent to be a major leaguer. So I like to pump the brakes on like Josue De Paula, Tyrone Lorenzo. I love the tools and talent, but yes, he's very talented. Popped a sub-1.8 pop time in a game. The dude can throw. The dude has massive power. He has a great hit tool. Love Tyrone Lorenzo. But having said that, he's a long ways away from the major leagues. And that minor, hey, man, let's like Diego Cartaya, man. You get to Double-A. Carson Taylor's the same way, who just got minor league Rule 5 to the Phillies organization. You got to wait to see how they handle the adjustments that the minor leagues give these guys. I think if they can be successful at Double-A and handle those adjustments, I think they become a major leaguer if they have opportunity. Okay, Hep C. If all you have to give up for Luzardo and Scott is Cartaya, Vargas, Stone, Knack, River, Ryan, Sweeney, you're basically, yep, we've had that conversation there. River Ryan, the only guy in that trade that might have a place. Yep, River Ryan is very good. Okay, Ange, thank you so much for joining every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 o'clock Pacific. And if you haven't done so yet, hit that like button, leave a comment, and tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily. And if you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button, become a subscriber. How do you think Outman will do next year? How was his year over improvements in the minors? If you look at his WRC plus numbers, even with the stretches that he struggled, because he steals bases, because he hits home runs, because he's a dynamic player, his WRC plus and his WAR metrics are very good, and he's a good defender. So we'll see. I mean, guys do have sophomore slumps, but I think James Outman is a simple enough hitter, and I mean that in a positive way. By the way, communicated with James just yesterday. Going to get back with him next weekend. He's in Chicago over the week, and so couldn't get connected with him, but going to interview him next weekend. Super excited about that. So we're going to ask James. I'll ask James Outman himself. What do you think about last year and how things went for you? How was his year over? How was his year-over-year improvements in the minors? James Outman, he finally got in the minor. Here's the thing that I liked about James Outman. He lowered his strikeout rates, and the last year he was in AAA was his lowest strikeout percentage. Now, I know he was 31 and whatever last year at the major league level, but here's why I think this can go down at the major league level. So his first year in pro ball, I think it was like 18%. Then it kind of ballooned, talking about a strikeout rate. And then his last year in AAA, I think, was like 25%. I've always said I think James Outman has the ability to get his strikeout rate down to 25%. And if he can get his strikeout rate down to 25%, James Outman really at that point is borderline an all-star player. Because he has the power, he steals the bases, he's a good defender. He's going to hit hopefully 250, 260. So here's what I want from James Outman. I want 250. I want a strikeout rate of 25%. I want 20 stolen bases, and I want 20 home runs. And then, as obvious, really good defense. I think that's the type of player James Outman is capable of being, and hopefully we get that version of him. Okay, is Andy Pages a fair comparison between him and Yasiel Puig? I will say I saw Yasiel Puig in Oklahoma City, and he would sign no contracts. I was not impressed with him. I have talked to Andy Pages on many different occasions, and I would much rather talk to Andy Pages than I would Yasiel Puig. From a talent perspective, I would say that Yasiel Puig was probably a stronger, better athlete, but definitely Andy Pages was a more skilled baseball player. Andy Pages is way more skilled than Yasiel Puig. So I like Andy Pages better than Yasiel. So there's two types of evaluations you do on a player. First of all, okay, what this player can do, the things that he does well, are they good enough to get him to the major leagues? That's evaluation number one. And then evaluation number two is, when he gets to the major leagues, is that player talented enough and open-minded enough to make the adjustments that player is going to have to make to stick? So Yasiel Puig was talented enough to get to the major leagues, and he was not either talented enough or receptive enough to make the adjustments to stay in the major leagues. Andy Pages has less athletic ability, but way more staying power, because he is open to any and all suggestions for adjustments. Just look at the weight that he lost last year. He tried to hit more ground balls last year. He had almost twice as many fly balls as he did ground balls the year before. Tried to hit a few more ground balls. Next thing you know, he's hitting like 200. So then he went back to hitting more fly balls. This guy hits the ball in the air, and he pulls the ball. When you hit the ball in the air and you pull the ball, that leads to home runs. Losing the weight, he can play all three positions. Played a lot of center field last year. So I think Andy Pages, they both had the ability to make the major leagues. I think Pages has the ability to stick in the major leagues, because I think he is more willing to make adjustments. Okay, hey, Steve says, great show, Casey. Thank you, sir. Hey, thank you so much for the wonderful comments. We're having a hell of a good time. Mike says, the 2025 Dodgers rotation, Yamamoto, Sasaki, Luzardo, Glasnow, and Miller. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. And then don't forget also, I think Emmett Sheehan will be in there somewhere. Okay, yeah. Hep C, Stone might have a place, but as a depth piece, I agree with that. Or the pin. But he's being surpassed by other talented arms in the farm, and more coming. Wouldn't mind seeing him go, especially for Luzardo and Scott, for Gavin Stone's sake. I know you're coming at it from the Dodgers' sake, that they have depth, duplicity, that they have duplicates. For Gavin Stone's sake, most people look at the minor leagues through the major league team's eyes. I'm a little different. I look at the major league team through these minor league guys' eyes. So for some of these guys' sake that are 25 years old, for their sake, I think it's even best for them if they get moved. So I would totally agree with that. Okay, what about Ohtani? He's going to come back next year. Could he become our closer? I am more in I think that's not a bad idea, but I would rather see if Dustin May could become the closer. But yes, I think he definitely could be a lights-out closer. No doubt about that, and that would reduce. The only thing I don't think I'd like about that is, how do you do the matchups? So if he's your closer and you need to bring him in, then you go extra innings and you need to take him out. Are you going to lose his bat? it would get kind of complicated from that perspective, would be the only thing I'd say to that. Hey, Michael Caputo, thank you so much for joining. I would say the last big Dodgers move will be Josh Hader. I could definitely see that. I hope they do that and get Luzardo and Scott. They have the ability to do both. Okay, Young says you don't pay a closer $70 million a year, and Ohtani should be in the rotation in 2025. Agree about and especially you don't pay him $70 million a year and for 5 years. That's where the hang-up's at. Michael says if I had to guess, they need a closer. Yes. I mean, they can only make one more big move. No, they can go get a free agent. Then they can go make a trade as well. So you have one roster spot left. So if you use that for a free agent, then if you go get a trade piece, then it has to be a 1-for-1. So for every guy at that point that you bring back, that's going to be on your 40-man, you have to give away a guy in your 40-man. So if you get Tanner Scott and Luzardo, there would have to be at least, and you go get Hader as well, you would have to then give away 2 guys on your 40-man for Luzardo and Scott. If you don't do Hader and you just do Luzardo and Scott, you only need to give away 1 guy in your 40-man. So there is some flexibility there. There is some choice there. We'll see how they go. There's a recent positive report about Gavin Lux that just came out. What would a healthy and productive Lux do to the lineup? Oh, a lot. He's that dynamic guy. He's the guy that can get base hits, that can steal bases, that can take first to third. He can score at the bottom of your lineup. He can be that guy that can turn the lineup over. He would be huge. Dodgers fans need to root for Gavin Lux to be the shortstop because he does bring some dynamics to his offense, and also he brings team control. Ohtani 100% wants to be in the 2025 rotation. Don't worry, he'll be starting next year next to his buddies Yamamoto and Sasaki. I would agree. I think they are going to get Roki Sasaki. Nando, thank you so much for joining. Dodgers should have gone more for Cease. They traded Bush and Almonte for single-A players. Yeah, I do think that Jackson Ferris is going to start at the high-A level. He is already on the Loons roster. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Nando. I think they should have used Bush to flip for somebody who helps you win a World Series. Okay, Casey Roberts needs to stop batting Muncy 5 or 6. He needs to be, I love Muncy in the 7-hole. The 7-hole to me has always been the second 4-hole. So I love the fact, if I had my druthers, Max Muncy would be in the 7-hole. The only thing I would say about that is when he is in boom mode, when he's in the 4-hole, he drives in a lot of runs. He comes out with runners in scoring position and either strikes out or pops up. Sometimes he hits home runs when he's hot. And Roy says we need contact hitters 1 through 6. I can't disagree with you at all. I think Max Muncy at the 7-hole. I think James Outman at the 8-hole. I think Gavin Lux at the 9-hole. That's a pretty damn good bottom third of your lineup right there. Hep C at the trade deadline. Imagine this rotation. Burns, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Luzardo, Miller, Shin. Woo! Let's go, baby. Let's get that started right now, Hep C. Wow. How about that, right? Okay, and the thing about it is I know the offense didn't show up, but in baseball, when you're already down 6 or 7 runs before you've ever hit, it just changes your whole approach. So it's impossible to play offense in a major league setting. Well, not impossible. Nothing's impossible, but I think the offensive woes were directly related to the fact that your pitching let you down. And so from that perspective, the Dodgers had to fix their pitching first, of which they did, which that's why that puts them in such a better position. About 10 more minutes to go. We have had just an incredible show tonight. What a wonderful lobby we've had. Guys, I know the Rams are playing. You're going to get almost the entire fourth quarter here, and I know you're probably watching both of them. The Rams have the ball down 4 as we begin the fourth quarter, about 90 yards away. Let's go, Rams. Let's go, baby. Okay, so favorites to win the World Series, says Zella, means nothing. I would agree with that. I believe the best team has like a 30% chance. You are exactly correct. D-Mac always talks about this. Boy, there's a big run right there. There is no sport like baseball that is like a crapshoot like baseball. Like in football, typically speaking, especially at the college level and below, if you're bigger, stronger, faster, you're going to win. Baseball, there's so many equalizers. That's why the Dodgers, in my opinion, getting Luzardo and Scott, the more airtight you can make it, not saying anything's guaranteed like Zella's saying, but it does increase your odds. Baseball, You talk to baseball people, it's all about odds. You play the odds. So the better players you get, the more airtight your roster becomes, the higher your odds become of winning a World Series. And the more you hire your odds every single year, at some point you're going to crack through and win one. So you and I are on the exact same page there, Zella, and that is literally exactly why I am still advocating for Luzardo, Scott, and Hader. Michael Caputo, thank you for joining Michael every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you haven't done so far, hit that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, and become a subscriber if you are not. The Dodgers are the favorites to win the World Series, but if they don't win it, then it will be the biggest letdown. Not winning it. It's so hard to win a World Series. You have to have good fortune. You have to be hot at the right time, or just at least not cold at the right time. There's so many variables that go into baseball. I will say if they don't win one in the next 2 years, and definitely if they don't win one in the next 2 years, Dave Roberts will not get re-signed. And then if they don't win one in this Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman window, it would be a complete disaster. Complete disaster. I think just saying next year, I think that's too much. I think they need to make the World Series, but I think you need to give them a window here to win one or two before you actually make the statement of, complete failure or that kind of thing. But yeah, no doubt about it, Michael. You go out and you spend all this money, you got to win World Series titles with this. You simply have to. Dave Roberts will not make it through it if they haven't won one by the end of his next contract. King Yellowman, Altman was top 30 in WAR. That's what I'm talking about. But not sure about all-star level. Hey, yeah, he wasn't all-star level at all. I'm saying if James Altman can reduce his strikeout rate to 25% and he hits 250, 260 like I think he's capable of, steals 20 bases and hits 25 home runs, that's the type of player that I think James Altman can be. At that point, I think he's borderline all-star if he does it, multiple years in a row and gets a reputation. Let's hope Lux comes through. Denard, what level is the MPB equivalent to the minor leagues? I would say it's somewhere in between AAA baseball and the AAA and the major leagues. I would say it's better than AAA because of the consistency, night in and night out. And I would say that some of the top-end talent at the MPB is definitely better than the top-end talent at AAA, because if you're top-end talent at AAA, you're not there. You're with the major leagues. There are guys in the MPB that are major league quality right then that just don't have the opportunity to be in the major leagues because they're in the MPB, right? If you are major league quality at the AAA level, you immediately get put at the major league level. So from that perspective, it is higher at the top end of the talent than AAA, and then I also think it's a more consistent league. So I think it's better than AAA and then a step below the major leagues. No doubt about that. Okay, Paul says if the Dodgers can get Luzardo and Hader, the Dodgers will have an elite bullpen and an elite starting pitching. No doubt. Mike Lopez, thank you so much for joining. How about the bullpen? Otani closer. This will be 2025 he's talking about. Phillips. And then Puck. Yeah, Puck would be a lefty from the Marlins. He's another one. Andrew Nardi, A.J. Puck, and or Tanner Scott. Take your pick. Okay. Gratterall, of course, you get Puck in a trade. Gratterall, Hurt. Yes, I love Hurt. Caleb Ferguson, Dustin May. I love Dustin May in the pen. Ronan Kopp, watch out for this guy. Had a great Arizona Fall League. He's going to hit 100 here in the next couple of years. And or Frasso, River Ryan. Whoa, man, that's some talent right there. Milwaukee dealt Hader while they were in the wild card race. Yes, it's not. I'm not to say it won't happen, but I do think that raises the price. I think that makes it more expensive than people would think that a trade deadline acquisition to be. And I think it makes it maybe more expensive at the trade deadline in some ways, even though a guy's closer to the end of his contract than maybe it would be off season. That's why I said that I thought the Dodgers at the trade deadline last year, they needed to pivot away from thinking like a trade deadline team to an off-season team, and they definitely have done that. Wonder who's going to sign Snell. Not going to be the Dodgers. I don't think. Giants going to have to sign Snell. They don't have a choice. Okay, so as we go here, we got about 5 more minutes. Roy says that he thinks that Yamamoto is going to be the rookie of the year. Yeah, Paul, I agree that May would be a great closer. Daryl, good evening. Daryl, thank you so much for joining. Daryl's awesome. I love every time Daryl joins Dodgers Dawgs. Will the Dodgers be able to build the farm system back up even if they trade prospects? No doubt about it. Even if they give up Miguel Vargas, Nick Frasso, Diego Cartaya, Gavin Stone, even at that very second, they're still going to be in the top 2 or 3 of all, even right then. And that's before they even start replenishing. And then again, Daryl, if you're worried about that next year and Ohtani comes back, and then you get Sasaki, and then Dustin May comes back, and then Tony Gonsolin comes back, then you take a Tony Gonsolin or whichever pitcher you see that's excess, you trade them off then to replenish your farm system. So either way, you're fine. You're going to be fine. If the Dodgers go get Jesus Luzardo and Tanner Scott, their farm system is going to be just fine. Absolutely just fine. No doubt about it. Trust me on that. And nobody loves these prospects more than I do. I'm telling you, the Dodgers farm system, if they go get those 2 guys, are going to be just fine. No doubt about it. Won't miss a beat. Love those guys. They won't miss a beat. Okay. Showtime LA says Stone in a 6-man rotation would be right behind Sheehan, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Sheehan, I think it goes in terms of roles being defined. I think it's Sheehan, then Hurt, then probably Frasso, then probably Stone, not including Grove because I think he's bullpen, and then I think you get down to Landon Knack. I think that's the order. Imagine Teoscar Hernandez and Randy Rosarina and Outman in an elite outfield. Yeah, that would be pretty good. I would agree with that. Kershaw's WAR stats should have to deduct Barnes' WAR stats. Yeah, that's from King Yellowman. Hey, Justin Sutterfield, thank you so much for joining. I really want Josh Hader, again, every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 Pacific. Hit that like button if you haven't done it. Leave a comment. Tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily. Become a subscriber. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. I really want Josh Hader. We have to think World Series. I've lost years off my life with our bullpen. Yeah, Mike M says don't trade Miller or shit. Hey, Mike, don't worry about it. Not going to happen. They're not going to trade Kyle Hurt either. Teams have wanted Kyle Hurt. They haven't done it yet. If they haven't done it yet, they aren't going to do it at this point, I don't think. Okay, I heard the Dodgers. This is from Michael. Says I heard they want Emmanuel Clase. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of rumors out there. 3 prospects better than a comp pick. I think Milwaukee swallows their pride and does what needs to be done. That's from Hep C. No doubt. Hey, Danielle, thank you so much for joining. Bordas has overvalued all his free agents. Think teams are standing up to him. That's a good thing, isn't it? Okay, so as we go through our comments, we are just about done here. I'm going to go from the bottom to the top. Rams are knocking at the door, down 24-20. Okay, Michael says, do you think we get a Yankees versus Dodgers World Series? That would be great. That would take me back to my childhood. I think that's what everybody wants, but Yankees offseason has been very disappointing. I would love to see that. Yeah, I don't know. I think probably there's teams in the National League that are better than them. Maybe Baltimore. We'll see. But that would be great to see a Yankees Dodgers. Hopefully, at least on the Dodgers end, no doubt. Okay, Zealous says, I don't think this is all in for the Dodgers. Obviously, they held on to their prospects. Remember, the Dodgers will build around Ohtani for the next 10 years. We will see them go all in for a decade. I agree with that, Zella. Totally, they haven't totally going all in at this point would then be to trade the prospects for Luzardo and Scott, going and getting Hader. That would be 100% all in. Paul Charles says Arenado didn't want to play in L.A. Otherwise, he would have agreed. Yep, getting Arenado would be great. And then, okay, Michael Caputo, the Dodgers and Yankees are going to be a must-watch this season, with the Dodgers having Yamamoto, Ohtani, and the Yankees with Judge and Soto, no doubt. Okay, Nolan Arenado, should be a Dodger. Okay, Devo, thank you so much for joining. Same in ice hockey, so many variables to be accounted for. The best team rarely wins, no doubt. Okay, so Roy thinks that Yamamoto is going to be the closer of the year. Young, I want to get to this question. Young's one of our wonderful participants here at Dodgers Daily that adds so much to this community. Of all Dodgers prospects, who would have the best chance to win Rookie of the Year in the future? You're talking about a position player, and I would have to say that position player at that point would be, I think, the only one that really has a clear path to actually being in the lineup in the next 5 years is Andy Pages. So just by process of elimination, I think the Dodgers are going to keep Will Smith. I think Andy Pages is your only candidate there. And he does have the ability to hit some home runs, so that will be interesting. Who would be Dave Roberts' replacement if the Dodgers fail to win the World Series? It would be 2 years from now. Okay, so if you want to stay in-house, obviously it'd be Bob Guerin. Then you could also look at Travis Barbary, who's the AAA manager, who has been in the Dodgers system his entire career, which is 33 years. Wonderful young man. He's been the AAA manager. I believe he's in his low 50s now. I have actually an interview with him if you want to check that out. I would be all for Travis Barbary. He's a guy that gets thrown out 6 or 7 times a year, and he always does it defending his players. He's laid back, but then if he feels like his players are getting screwed, he will get thrown out every time, and it'll be fiery. The players love him. I don't know about the guys that are in the LA dugout. If you didn't go with one of them, my first call would be Travis Barbary. And then the next guy I think the Dodgers would consider, I don't know if Henney would want it, the AA manager. If he wants it, he's great. The players love Henney. But Daniel Nava. Daniel Nava, the Great Lakes manager, is a rock star. Don't believe me, just talk to the people in the system. Nava has that sharp look, that really good look to him, and he is such a motivating player. And he does it while everybody is allowed to get comfortable and be themselves. So I think Daniel Nava, Travis Barbary would be your 2 best in-house candidates if you didn't go with like a Bob Guerin or somebody in-house. But if you're going to remove Dave Roberts, just clean the slate and let's go with an entirely new regime. My first response would be Travis Barbary. Okay, Soto, most overrated player in baseball. Yeah, Casey, you are truly one of the best Dodgers content creators in the game. We appreciate you keeping us informed on the amazing prospects. Well, I thank you so much for that showtime. I want to thank everybody in this chat for just a wonderful, I didn't know how it was going to go. I was debating whether to come on or not. With the Rams game tonight, hey, we had a hell of a good time, didn't we, guys and gals out there? Want to thank you so much. For that, hey, I'm going to have my interview with Gus Varlin this week. My interview with Taylor Young and Michael Grove is going to release this year. We're going to do a video. Austin and I are on the closer candidates that are in-house. Mike Solis is going to have an interview. We're going to have a hot take on Munetaka Murakami. That's coming up. And then we're also going to have a hot take on what we think the next move for the Dodgers is. So stay tuned for, and then also we have an interview with Emmett Sheehan and James Outman coming up down the pike as well. So stay tuned for all that coming up very shortly. And then again, the next time we go live will be Wednesday night at 6 o'clock Pacific. So until then, I would like to thank everybody again for tuning in to Dodgers Dogs and say, go Dodgers.